We had our first actual decent down day since going all the way back here to what was this? May 29th. Opened below the 274. This is actually a better picture. So we had been consolidating for a while. Mid-May, had the one down day where we broke below the consolidation, got right back in it, and then we broke out, got up to this target. And this had been a target area since we moved off the lows. We got into it, stayed there for a few days, and then slowly started creeping lower. But the thing that was going on as we were creeping lower, we would gap down and get bought. We talked about this in yesterday's morning meeting. We would gap down and we get bought. And so there wasn't, at least for the way that I look at the market, in terms of the clues for precursor to larger down moves, we didn't see that type of volatility that we saw, for example, in the summer of 2015 in July and early August before we had the morning crash in August of 2015. We had 4 gap downs in 6 days, so clearly the overnight action was impacting where we're opening. What was different in terms of the open yesterday was the first bar was straight down to 272. We then came into this kind of little support area that I have highlighted from the longer term. We did catch a bid there. You can see we wicked inside of it to almost to 271, and then we popped up $1. Then the second leg down was just as strong, took us below 270, 269.5. And then while I was off the desk in a meeting, we popped back up inside of this area. This is a spot where certainly if you were looking for the market to close near the lows, this would be the spot to see if we failed. And in fact, we failed there. We made a new low, 269. And what often happens, and I'll just give you a general rule, on days where the market is down, the SPY is down $4 to $6, quite often at the end of the day, even if it's a big down day, right at the end of the day, you'll see some buying where you'll get a quick $1 to $2 pop. And sometimes in the after hours, it'll drift all the way back down. But we see this quite often. So if you look on the daily, what it looks like is there's like a big kind of a red bar and then a wick towards the bottom, kind of like, so actually what this bar would look like on the daily, this red one right here, where it gets down to a level, there's a pretty big buying right into the close, and sometimes the next morning we'll gap higher. In this case, we're just kind of gapping into the area we bounced to at the end of the day. Best scenario though is when you gap to like here, and then the next morning you can watch to see what happens if there's some selling pressure. Does it hold this area right here? In this case, since we haven't really moved since the close, what I'll watch for is, are there some buyers here? Does it make a little bit of a higher low than yesterday? And it catches some buyers here and then gets through this band. Then I'd look for the close back up above 272. Failure on the open here, like close to 272, come back down. I'll watch for the buyers here. And if it goes through and starts to hold below, then you could see some quick nervousness and a flush. Often, well, I'm going to move on because we got a lot of stuff to cover. Let's take a look at IWM. So IWM, this was a little bit of a tough one. I did have a script that auto bought me into the support here. Initially on the open, got stopped out. It actually ended up going $2.50 below that area, which is just an insane move. Did get long into the low 164s, into this kind of support area right here, 164.40. It did have a bounce all the way back to 166. Again, this one happened while I was off the desk. You probably saw me taking sales into this. That was pre-planned. I was selling 165. I actually sold while I was in the desk. I went to 165, from 165.5, and I think I got flat here at 165.80 something. End of the day, rolled back over. I didn't buy it back into the 164.40. So for today, it's 165.80 to 166 resistance, 164.5 to 164.30 support. Take a quick look at the VXX. so you have 39.40 from this one. First thing I would look for is to see if the VXX makes a lower high between 38 and 38.40. Right now, sellers are in control. 36 support. So this is where I'd be, basically this area here would be where I'd looking to be trading this in the first 90 minutes on the open. All right, LEN reported. So LEN had pretty good numbers for stock that's down 30% from the high. So we've been moving sideways for a few years. It broke out. Let's see when it broke out. It broke out in the fall. It went from 58 up to 72. Erased that move, tested 3 times. I think this was an earnings. It gapped up on earnings this day in good earnings. It still got hammered down at $50. So, I mean, this is kind of the range we're working with today. So it's still up $3. Because it's down so much from the high and because the numbers were so good, I would much rather, if the sellers are control right now, it's basically failed in the pre-market 53.65. Some volume here. It's done about 10% of its average daily volume in the pre-market. If we zoom in, we probably can see that volume a little bit better. It's done about like 100,000 shares in here. Looks like they're going to defend 52. So what I'd like to do is, on a manual basis, if I had just scripts in, I probably would buy a little bit deeper a pullback and a flush into here. But if I'm watching it in the open, which I probably will be, buying it in the 52 area, gets a little bit below, buying some, and then seeing if it can get back above 52.20, I'd be looking for a move back into here and then kind of see. There's the optionality. If I'm long it from here, sell some into 53, and then I kind of see if it just holds up here, has a second leg to the upside. As I said, again, it's down a lot. It's beaten down a lot with that sector. I could definitely see it working its way back to the mid-50s. So that's my first thought on that. There. Next one is ACAD. This is a difficult stock to trade, ACAD. Here's the 30-minute. I guess they updated their guidance as having a negative reaction to that. And this one had taken a hit with the market as well the last few days in the technology sector. So if we look at recently what it's done, it was 75, trended up to 82.83, got hit on Friday from 82 to 80. Then yesterday with the market sell-off, got hit down to 78. Then they update the guidance today and it's gapping below 75. So longer term, it looked like to me there was some support right here. I'm sure we'll zoom in and see how real this was. I'm going to get 77 as inflection. And my thought was it's come down so much so quickly that maybe some buyers would step in on the open and push it up into here. The support from a couple weeks ago. And then I've started to roll over again, short it into kind of where it is right now in the pre-market. We just don't have enough volume to really see. It's only done 23,000 shares. And as I said, again, it's a tough stock to trade right for ultimate. So I have 73 as the next major support. Probably in a better anyway, this is the working range I have for to start the open. We'll go from there. The next one is SPPI. So apparently they put themselves up for sale. The interesting thing that also caught my eye is the same time they announced that they were for sale, they've received some interest, is they also announced they're going to be submitting data lit, or they're going to be discussing their data later this week from a phase 3 trial. Any ability to sell the company or the price that they would get the company would certainly be impacted by phase 3 data on a drug they're developing. So that may be why it's just gapping up, not as much as you would expect. Now we did run up. Obviously, there was some good drug news that caused the stock to go from 10 up to $21 back in the last fall. A couple of times it tested the mid-teens. Actually filled the gap here. So my expectation is that people would not push it through this area here, and the fact that any offers they're going to get going to be dependent on the data that gets announced in a few days. It might be an options play to look at, maybe like the 24 calls or something like that, and the 16 puts. So it got up as high as almost 24. Then they started selling it. Clearly, you can see there's a seller here at $23. So a quick pop to 23 and a failure on the open, I would actually look to short that. I don't know if we'll get all the way back down to the 2050 support, but something like this. After the open, if it's consolidating, let's say above 22, and they're buying it here, it's above the morning low. You could look for then you could look for the move back up. JKS. JKS is one of those, I was debating whether or not to put it on the sheet. I've shied away from it the last couple of years since the price is so down. But the interesting thing to me, it reminded me a little bit of GME from the other week, when it's just a very, very probably heavily shorted stock, beaten down, had started to form a base, was breaking out of it, and then the news comes out, and quite often what you'll see, it's actually right around the same price as GME when we were looking at it the other day too, right? So GME had announced the numbers that weren't good, and then the after hours it had come down to the prior low, and by the time we looked at it in the morning, it was up, let's say, the equivalent of about here, and then we got long above 13. Over the next few days, it got to like $14.5, $15. It's funny that it's similar technically and also same price. So what happens often in these situations is the stock's beaten down. The news, kind of people are factored in how bad the news is going to be. The news comes out, it doesn't look great, comes off. Then the market opens, it catches a bid, and it moves back up to kind of the recent prices where it was bouncing to, and you kind of go from there. So really what you would look for is you'd want to see it holding above 13. What do I have on there? 12 and 13 support. This is the resistance right here. I wouldn't spend a ton of time on it. RTX, this is the one from the other day that had really good news. They flushed it to 38 and bounced to the long-term resistance at 42. I even noticed a couple of times it got above 42 yesterday. People knew that the secondary was coming. Probably demand was pretty good, and that's why they were trying to break it out. A little bit surprised that it's down at the secondary price, which is $39.50. What you'd want to see in this scenario is it get back above $40, and then if it starts to hold above 40, then you would look to see if it can kind of push its way to yesterday's potential resistance area. Below the support right on the open, maybe they'll flush it. I don't know if they'll flush it all the way down to 38, but I would think if they do, it would be a really good buy there, close to 38. And then Aaron's asking about ACHV. Another one of those, let's see if we have a position yet in it. So Shark is long it. So gapped up yesterday in the pre-market, filled the gap, and it's gapping up again. positive results, blah, 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 30% answer reporting positive. I'm assuming they reported these results here, and then people sold initially, but now more people, yeah, sorry, I don't have time to talk about GE, but GE doesn't really move much. I noticed something after the open. It's definitely worth keeping an eye on. ACHV. Upside looks like $6.80 to $7. We can get through that 6 on the open. IQ. So yeah, IQ. So this was an interesting one. So I bought this in multiple accounts yesterday. The idea was to buy it on a flush between 34 and 33 and play for a move back up to here. It just never did. I mean, it basically wasn't the right day for that to happen, right? The market was so weak. Even as the market was tanking on the open, it did bounce about $1.50 from the low. So it was in quite a bit in the money on this one. And then it went flush through the low midday. End of the day, just people didn't want to take it overnight. You can see even in the after hours, it drifted all the way down to 32. So I'm only long a quarter of what I had yesterday, unfortunately. And it looks like I'm going to probably get some sales on the open, 35, 35 and a half. And what you would look for is a move on the open like this, and then some sort of higher low, something like that. So, and then MU was my other kind of top thing that I traded yesterday in terms of size. I mean, I love the fact that after the earnings, it had good numbers. It ran up to 62. It had come off from 62 to 53 in a couple of days, 3 days. 53 was a longer term resistance area from about a month ago. And so I was actually quite big in it into 53. And then both of my stops got triggered below 52, I think 80, and then below 52.50. I was able to buy some back above 52.50 when it immediately got above it. And then I started, when it got back above 53, because I loved this idea so much, I started to buy more back at 53 a few times and sold in some into 53 and a half. But again, much smaller size overnight. So I sold a little bit this morning into 54 and a half. I would love a flush in the open into this area here. And then I would play it for a move back up to here. Such a battleground stock. But I really do like it a lot as a long in the 53 area. And then EBIL, this is just another one of those low float. It's already come off a bunch in the pre-market. It was up here at 12. It doesn't mean, let's see here. Look for a pop to like closer to 10 on the open. And hopefully we get that pop before it sells off any deeper. I think I had to eat as first support, and then if they really crushed it, 7. And ideally, you'd get just this quick pop in the open and start to hold below $10, like here, and you trade into here. So. As far as I know, nothing real driving this other than it's a low floater. So it should work its way back at least to this trend.
Hope you enjoyed that video. You can actually watch that video if you're subscribed to our Trader 90 before the market even opens. What stocks are in play? What levels in those stocks are important? And how we might go about attacking that stock. That's Steve Spencer, 20-year veteran trader, laying it out there every morning before the market even opens. A really, really powerful tool to start your session off on the right foot. So right now we're offering a trial that you can take advantage of to access this meeting and other meetings throughout the day. We have a meeting at 11 a.m. Eastern where you can sit down with Mike Bellafiore and listen to him talk about what's going on during the morning session, what stocks were in play, what the best trade opportunities were, as well as maybe some things that we're looking at heading into the afternoon session. So I really encourage you to take advantage of that trial.